I just want to say I've never really foraged, and I found my first morel this past spring, and I had to text Kristina right away and make sure that it was the real deal. So I'm super excited. Tristana, I'll kick it
Hey
over.
everyone, I'm Tristana and this is Scarlett. She's hanging out with me for a few minutes until my mom gets back in to take care of her. I am the Assistant Chief of Education for the department. I'm based out of the Albuquerque office. And I'm also really excited. I love going out and eating like wild berries, and that's all I know about. And so I'm super excited to learn more. And I did want to mention that I did hit the record button so that we can get this posted after the session. So you should have seen that pop up here just a minute ago. But Colleen, I believe you are next.
Hey everybody, my name is Colleen Payne. I'm the Public Information Specialist for the Southwest area of the state, and I'm based out of the Las Cruces office.
All right, and then I don't know if Melissa is on here out of our Roswell office. If you are, can you unmute yourself? There's so many people, I can't see if she's here. Anybody, Melissa? No? Ah, darn it. Y'all will love Melissa. She's great. She's fantastic. Just like all the people that are here tonight, y'all, we have a record registration on this particular free social hour. It came to like 490 people, I think is what the total was. So super incredible. Kristina, I'm gonna just let you have at it and dive in.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I think we still have people still trying to come in. So if you guys miss anything, you can just ask questions in the chat. And the girls said that they would help me keep up with those questions. Let me try to share screen here really quick. And then I will get started. How do I move this? Okay, so I will start just with a little introduction. My name is Kristina, and I've grown up in New Mexico my entire life. I'm married and I have 2 boys and I homeschool them. So we love to be outside, and that is where we are majority of the time. I did not grow up hunting and foraging and fishing. Just within the last few years, it's been an interest of mine and my family. So if you are completely new, or you don't hunt or fish or have never picked a berry, you are in good company, because it's really fun and easy to start. So I don't want anybody to be intimidated. So my plan for today is to just go over some of the basics for foraging. And then I have some resources, and I have some things that I have made with things that I have foraged to show you guys. So if we go ahead and get started. So what is foraging? It's wild food for free. And that can consist of something that you found at a park that is not been sprayed, of course, or something that you grow in your yard, something that grows as a volunteer plant in your garden. Some of those things are count as foraging. They're wild edible food. It can provide food, they can provide medicine, and it's just another aspect of something to get you connected to nature and connected to the land. When I first started having an interest in foraging, my kids were really young and we just wanted to get them outside. So we started taking them outside, and we were wondering, what are all these plants and are they good for anything? And turns out majority of them are, and they're really good, and they can make a lot of medicine that is really good for you. And so I was joking with the girls earlier. I don't know how many hunters are on here, and maybe equally as frustrated with the draw as I am, but since I can't seem to draw a tag for an animal, I know for a fact, and I know for certain, that if I go out, I will absolutely find a mushroom or a plant, and I get the same, or I don't know, maybe the same adrenaline or rush of finding something that I'm hunting for, right? This counts as plant hunting, I think. Okay. So some of the things that I will go over today, and some of the rules that I like to abide by, is to be cautious. You want to research your land, find out the laws about your land or where you are foraging, what to bring. We want to have a plan for the things that we do plan to forage or to bring home because we don't want to be wasteful. I have a few times just brought something home and was really excited about it, and they go bad pretty quickly. And so I end up wasting my time and gas and getting out there and then bringing something home and not having a plan, and then it goes bad. And that is not being a good steward of our land. So we definitely don't want to do that. There are a couple of rules that I follow by, the rule of thirds and the abundance rule, which I will go over later. I have slides about those. Keeping a foraging log, and I encourage you to learn plant anatomy and fungi anatomy. It will just make reading a field guide much easier and less frustrating when you're out trying to figure out if you've found something good. Let me see if I can try to find the chat. Does anybody know what this plant is that is on the screen? Let me find the chat. Just if you know it, just type it in the chat. I'm just curious.
Oh man, I'm gonna learn so much tonight already, I can tell you.
Yeah. No, not Doc. No, not Mullen. Wild rhubarb. Oh, Rebecca. That's so I also lead a homeschool nature co-op. So I take these kids out into New Mexico and we learn all kinds of things. And so a couple of semesters ago, we did learn wild edibles. And so Rebecca is correct. It's wild rhubarb. So this plant grows everywhere. So now that you see it, if you are driving, I guarantee you right now, especially, you will see it on the side of the roads, in open lots, and undisturbed land mostly. However, I will talk about this again later on in our discussion, but if it's growing next to a road, well, it's probably not the best place to try to pick that because you'll get a bunch of stuff that you don't want to eat if you do that. So we also want to be mindful of where we're picking. But yes, that is wild rhubarb, and you can treat it just like regular rhubarb. We had a family a couple of weeks ago, a family that we know, they went and picked this and they made rhubarb pie. So you can do all kinds of fun things. This is a good one to teach kids. Okay. Next. Okay, so a little more about being cautious. We want to make sure without a doubt that we are being able to identify these plants. There are a lot of plants that
Kristina?
have some lookalikes. Yes.
Christine, before you go to the next slide, we had a question if you know the scientific name for the rhubarb. I know we're putting you on the spot with this, but is that something, do you know?
That's okay. No, but I can find it for you.
It's probably one of those scientific names that really roll off the tongue easily too. You know what I mean?
And I'll probably for sure be able to say it.
But man, we are really putting you on the spot.
That's okay.
I love it.
This is super fun for me. Okay, so just a Google search. It says Rumex crispus. RUMEX CRISPUS. Well,
Nice
rhubarb.
job.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Impressive, quick Googling and presenting at the same time. Like, way to go.
Yeah.
thanks.
That's talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Or nerves, who knows? Okay, so we want to make sure that we are identifying. So when I said earlier to make sure that you know plant anatomy, that is why this is so important, or fungi anatomy, because there are certain things, a very small detail that could make something edible and something non-edible. So you want to make sure that you know these things. But so as a personal thing, I check 2 references typically. Some things that I've been foraging for a while, I can pretty much know what they are and I feel confident in doing that. But some items, when I first start to identify them or want to find something to do with these plants or fungi, I typically will use an app or a field guide, or both of them, multiples. There is an app called Seek. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with that. That is one that is pretty simple to use, and you can typically use that without having service on your phone. So it's good for places out in the middle of nowhere. So if you guys do not have the Seek app, it's a free app. I highly recommend that you download that. Yes, Seek, SEEK. Another one that people like to use is iNaturalist. That one is also great. Seek is my personal favorite, but you can play with both of those. Let's see back, be cautious. So when I also first started foraging, I would wear gloves because I was really afraid of touching something that was poisonous or something that would hurt me. So I did wear gloves. So that's not a bad idea to do in the beginning so that you can actually touch things. And sometimes you have to move the plants around and see the bottom of the plant or inside the plants to properly identify. So it's not a bad idea to wear gloves, and you want to be aware of the surroundings of the plant. So where it's being found. Is it, if it's at a dandelion, which is this picture right here, I would have asked, but I assume that people know that that's a dandelion. Typically, for a rule of thumb, if you find a dandelion at a park, they probably don't spray because it's a weed and it wouldn't grow if they did spray. However, it's still not a bad idea to check, and you can call park services or whoever is in charge of that, and they'll know right away if they spray. Hartnett Park in Los Ranchos does not spray, so you can forage dandelions there actually. Okay, so you want to research your land. There are some plants that you might forage or get into, and insects might like to have their homes in them. So that is also something that you might want to look into. There are certain like flowers that you might get, or some of these plants that have folds in them. Sometimes there can be bees in there, and you don't want to get stung by those things. And again, bring a field map or a field guide or an app with you. Okay, laws about foraging. If you are on BLM land, you can get this information from blm.gov. A reasonable amount. That means, and later on I will talk about the rule of thirds rule, but a reasonable amount you are allowed to take of these that are listed here: flowers, berries, nuts, seeds, cones, and other parts of the plant, including roots and those types of things. You do not want to forage any plants that are, I have a list here, extinct or endangered. So in New Mexico, the Pecos sunflower, there is a list, and it's on blm.gov, so you guys can look this up before you go out and are trying to look for some things. There are some cactus, some thistle, and there's one verbenous species that is protected, so they would prefer if you did not take that plant. You can also check with the local BLM offices for more specific restrictions. Also, if you are at a national park or a preserve, typically I would absolutely check in those places before you just go start picking up something there. Probably would not like you to do that. Things to bring: a knife, protective clothing. We do have some poisonous plants here in New Mexico, so typically pants and long sleeves. If you are walking through brush, typically if you're out foraging, you're not right along the trail, so there's a good chance that you might brush up against something that you aren't expecting, especially if you're looking for mushrooms and you're under a tree trying to dig through pine needles and leaves that have fallen. A bag or a basket or brown paper bags work great too, just something breathable. I wouldn't put things in Ziploc bags and seal them up. Gloves, a small shovel, and pruning shears. However, the other day I went just a few days ago to the East Fork Trail, and I had none of these things, and I was still able to, grab some things and take home. So you don't have to have that. Those are just some things that make it a little bit easier. Okay, this part is what to do when you actually forage these things. So it is good to have a plan. So a reference that I have is this rosemary, glass scars, I'm sorry, I should have put this in the slide. but medicinal herbs. It's a beginner's guide. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this or write this down, rosemary, black stars, medicinal herbs, beginner's guide. This is a really wonderful guide, and it talks about all of the ways that you can process these herbs for medicine. So I highly suggest that book. I have four books that I would really recommend that you get. Another one would be this, Wild Edible Plants of New Mexico by Charles Kane, I think, Charles Kane. This is very well loved. Some of the pages are worn out because I've spilled things or dropped them in water, but in these foraging guides, let me find a page that is clear. Oh, this one comes out. So typically they will have a map of the area. And so that would be one way to check. Say that you thought that you found mullein and you see that it is kind of highlighted in the area that you are. That would be an indicator that you've possibly found the correct thing. They also will tell you habitats. You want to make sure that that matches. And they do have some cautions down here, but it will tell you how to properly identify the plant, and they'll give you some markers so that you can make sure that you are getting the correct item. So we don't want to be wasteful. The first time that I went mushroom picking, me and my friend went and got a lot of different species, and we didn't really have a plan, so we cooked up some, but we wasted a bit. It's embarrassing to say, but that was also a way for us to learn. So having a plan definitely before you go out is very wise. So I would highly suggest that you try to do that. Some of the things that you can do with these plants, once you bring them home, you can dry them. So yesterday we were out at East Fork Trail in Jemez, and I was able to pick up these mullein leaves. That's a page that I just showed you. So I am going to, it's further on so you guys can take a screenshot, but I'm going to dry these in my oven. I think the degree, or like 100 degrees, I would set the oven to, and then I would grind these into a powder, and then I would store them in a mason jar. And then I would use them for coughs. These mullein leaf is good for so many things. Yeah, the mullein leaf is an expectorant, so it's helpful for any respiratory issues. So I would probably make a tea out of these once I dry them and ground them up and store them in a mason jar, kind of like this. Some other things that you can do with these plants when you get them and bring them home, so you can dry them. When you dry them, you can dry them in your oven. You can also hang dry them. You just want to make sure when you are hanging these plants to dry, I would just hang a few that are fairly the same size, that they're almost the same size, because you want them to dry evenly. And all you would do is put a string here and hang it somewhere in your kitchen, garage. I would not put them outside. Once they are dried, though, you want to keep an eye on them. You want to take them down right away. You don't want them to gather dust or get any insects or anything on them. So you want to try to preserve as much as you can of the plant so we aren't being wasteful. You can make infusions. I might have some oil infusions. So this is an oil infusion. So this is just rosemary with a little bit of olive oil in here that I'm going to sit on my counter. This has probably been sitting, let's see, for about a month. So I have a little while to go, but I'm going to make a hair oil with this because rosemary is supposed to be good for hair stuff. It's a really technical term, hair stuff. It's good for hair growth. And then this looks really bad. I don't know if you guys can see, but these are cottonwood buds that you can pull off of a cottonwood tree. Now we might have missed this time this year, but early spring when the buds are just growing on a cottonwood and they're really kind of sticky. I'm sure your kids or you have touched them because they're fun looking. But what I will do with this is once it's done curing, probably again in a few weeks, I will make a salve with this, and this is good for any kind of skin issues, specifically for sunburn. So my husband sunburns a lot, so I'll be making him something out of this.
Kristina, we have a question. Do you always dry before infusions?
I think that there's two trains of thought. So that is a frustrating and wonderful thing I think about this is it's up to you. You can play with it and do however you want. I typically dry things unless I'm doing a water infusion or a tea. I would use the fresh flower. So desert willow. Sorry, I should have had pictures of the. I might actually have a picture of a desert willow. Let me click forward and then I'll click back. I do. So this right here is a desert willow blossom flower, and desert willows are all over. So really in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho. I'm not sure where everybody is from. So if you can find one of these that aren't in a parking lot or next to the road, a neighbor's yard, typically people, if you ask, will let you pick these. But desert willow, I made some the other day with my niece. We found one of these trees, Bristol. I don't know if she's on here. And I just filled the jar about halfway with the desert willow and then the rest with water, and I left it outside, and it's fine. It's a little florally if that is something that you like, but it's good for fungal infections. And so, or like Bactine, like a wound wash. So if you have you can make that fresh, that is also good for owies for kids or to drink as tea.
And we
So
also
it's up to you.
a question. Do you have a website or maybe a Facebook page where you kind of put up your instructions for how to make an oil or anything like that?
Yeah, so on the last slide here that I did have my Instagram page. I share a lot of stuff there, so I can share some recipes and stuff if people are interested in that. And I also have my email. So if you guys have any questions, you are welcome to email me any questions about anything that I talk about today. If I skip something or if I'm confusing, you don't quite get what I'm saying, which that might happen. I'm sorry, but yeah, just ask me any questions. Okay, this
one more
sorry.
would be, is there any, do you know if there's any problem about the cotton buds if you're already allergic to?
So I feel like somebody asked me this when I was picking these. I would, if you are allergic to cotton, I wouldn't try to do that. It's part of the tree, and then you're going to rub it on your skin. I wouldn't. With anything that you are foraging, which I have a slide about this later on too, but I would try a little at a time. So even if it's this desert willow tea that I just talked about, that's just the flower and water, I would take a little bit at a time and then see if you're tolerable to that. So edible and tolerable are two different things. Something can be edible and it still doesn't just sit well with you, just like regular food. It's just like how some people have a gluten sensitivity and some people can process that just fine. So the same goes for wild edibles. You need to take it slow and take a little at a time to see if it's compatible with your body and if your body will process it well, even if there's nothing wrong with it, if it's not poisonous or toxic. In the chat, does anybody know what these little berries are? Just curious. Good job, Gretchen. They are currants. So these are also almost, let's see if I can find it. Did I write these down? These are almost ready. So these can be consumed fresh. So these are just a fun little treat if you can properly identify this plant you're with your kids or for yourself. Sometimes I enjoy this more than my kids do. Let me find the current. These are just, yep, currents. Good job, guys. It's just fun to be out and you're in nature anyhow, and you get to eat something that is, how cool is that? It's just really fun and it's really cool. But if you wanted to pick them and bring them home, you could make jelly or jam with them, just like any of the other berries, but they're really good. And there's a lot about to be ready to be picked at the East Fork Trail in Jemez. In a couple of weeks, they might be.
This is great.
Ready to go.
I do not have a green thumb whatsoever. So who knew that if I can't grow stuff, I could just go out into nature and do this. Because I try to make a garden and it's not successful.
Oh yeah, girl, you don't need a garden. Just go outside. It's like a twofer. You get to go hiking and find food. So also, I think I might have a picture. There's another berry that I'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so the role of their.
Are there any current species that are not edible or toxic? Do you know?
I don't know, but I will find out. Let me check. Also, something that I should add, even if you have any animals at home, dogs at home, just like regular food, some things are okay for us to process and not for dogs. So you guys make sure that you check those things. So I would again do your own research, but I think that just like any other berry, these currants, I'm going to say do your own research on that because I don't know if I trust what I just read on Google. But I would assume not. But again, I'm not a professional. I'm just please do your own research. I don't want somebody getting sick and then I get an email. Hey, you said I could eat. That would be terrible. And you'll feel terrible in your stomach and not have a great time. So just do your own research. But with any wild berry, actually a disclaimer, I wouldn't eat handfuls and handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of them. I would eat a little bit at a time because they do cause some stomach upset. Obviously, even the ones that are completely fine to eat. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so the rule of thirds, this is something that I like to abide by. So that just means no more than 1/3 of any plant from any location. So if I'm picking berries, I'm not going to pick just this one bush. I'm probably going to pick strategically and sporadically from this one bush and then move on to the next. We don't want to completely take away anything that we are trying to take. Mostly we want to leave it for future harvest for people, but also some of that is for animals' food. We don't want to completely take away something that they're eating. It's not being nice. So don't do that. But also the abundance rule. So it is wonderful to go out on these long hikes and drive to Jemez and drive to Cynthia, unless you live in those areas and you're wonderfully lucky. But if you live in the city and you have to drive to these mountainous places, sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to do. If you have kids or you're working or the weather's bad, I don't know, just whatever reasons, you can't always get to the mountains to pick wild food. There's probably wild food in your neighborhood or in your yard. So the abundance rule just means to pay more attention to where you are. If you're walking in your neighborhood, your neighbor might have a mulberry tree that they don't care to pick from, and you can ask them if you can pick it. And they might have wild rhubarb growing in their yard and they think it's a weed and they are not going to care if you pick it. So all the abundance rule means is just to pay attention to where you are. This is a really good thing to teach to kids. I'm not sure how many of us have kids on here, but it's just another way to connect them to nature and to care about where they live, to care about their land, and to care about the world around them. If they know that something is yummy and it tastes yummy, you're going to be more inclined to take care of it, even if it's just in your neighborhood. So that's all that the abundance rule means, is to just, if it grows where you are, try to learn about it and try to see how you can incorporate it into your diet. Another thing is to keep a foraging log. I don't always follow my own advice, but it's a good habit to keep if you are trying, especially if you're trying to learn. It's a good habit to keep. So there are a few reasons why you would want to keep a log. Hold on, did I get ahead of myself? I did, that's okay. So you want to keep track of things. I don't have a great memory. So if you have a great memory, maybe you don't need a foraging log, but if I have, you know, some mulberries that I froze and I keep in my freezer, I might not remember exactly where I got those. So keeping a log is a great thing to do, especially if you are going to be making any kind of medicinal things with the herbs. It's a good thing to know where you got it from and what time of the year you got it from, in case there is a reaction or something doesn't go as planned with that plant, then you'll know where you got it and what time of year you got it, and that just might be helpful information for you to have. I'm going to go back one slide. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. But before I do, does anybody know what this is on the screen? This is probably my favorite. It is a mushroom, a puffball, correct? Whoever, Alyssa, very good. A puffball. So these are my absolute favorite to find. And mostly because it does not look like anything else. So I feel super confident in finding these. They are small like this sometimes, but sometimes they can get really big. So these are really wonderful, and they're very, very good in butter and garlic, although I'm sure anything in butter and garlic is good, but these are my favorite thing to find. So if you ever see these walking out in the forest, please pick it and send me a message or something, and I'll be very jealous. But this is a puffball. You cannot confuse it really with anything else that looks like it. So what you want to do, again, this is why it is important to know anatomy of fungi, because this tiny little thing at the bottom, you can't see what I'm doing, the tiny little portion at the bottom typically is covered with debris at the bottom of the mushroom. And so you typically just see this big ball. So if you come across one of these, what you will do is you will take it out of the ground, and it doesn't have a stem, and it's supposed to not have a stem. And so if you flip it over, and you can kind of core out just that like little stalk at the end. And if it is completely white on the inside, like a marshmallow, and you don't see any bugs or anything like that, then that is good to take home. When you get it home, all you will do is peel the outside of the mushroom, and it's kind of like leather, which is fun. And then you just cook it however you want to cook it. You can cook it in strips. My friend Jordan, I don't know if she's on here, but her and I found one of these one time, and we were driving down, I don't know, San Gregorio Reservoir Road. I forget whatever forest road that was. And I like stepped on the brakes because I saw this white thing in a drainage ditch, like kind of off of the road, and it was a puffball. And so we took it home and we ate it, and it was yummy and wonderful. And so now that's all I want to find. But anyhow, those are really fun to find. Okay. Sorry, let me go back one slide because I think I missed some stuff.
Kristina, so the cleaning of them, that's where you were taking off the leather part and kind of coring out.
Yeah. So, yeah. So all you have to do, no, I wouldn't cook the leathery part. Oh, I can see the question. Sorry. So how you would clean them is all that you do is you take it out of the ground, and you core out just the bottom of like the part that was attached to the ground. That's all that you're going to do.
Oh.
And then as long as that little part looks clean, and it should all be white, then you are good to take that home. And I wouldn't tear off the outside of it when you're out in the field or when you're out wherever you are. I would wait to do that at home so it stays clean. And then when you get home, then you can peel off the outside of the mushroom, and then you can use the entire thing as long as the whole thing is white on the inside. If it is yellow, I had one time that was purple, a little purpley inside, I would not eat that. And sometimes bugs can get up in there, and you don't want to do that. So, but yeah, and that's a really easy one too.
Do you have a separate app that you use to identify mushrooms?
You know what, I do have one, but it doesn't work really well. So what I honestly use, it's so weird. I don't know why he's holding a trumpet. So it's really strange. But can you see? It's really creepy kind of. It looks like it's super from the 70s, but it is the best field guide. And it's really tiny, so it can fit just in your satchel or your backpack. But it's by David Aurora, and it's just all that rain promises and more. Super creepy, but it has really good information. So I think, oh, it's actually, so let me see. So these are puffballs actually right here. I don't know if you guys can see this at all, but I will leave this here for just a second if you guys want to take a screenshot or write this down. This is by far the best guide. Okay. Okay, so back to plants. In that rosemary, Gladstar's medicinal herb book that I talked about earlier, in the beginning, the beginner's guide, it talks about this stuff as well, what I'm going to talk about here. So for the medicinal plants, buds and flowers are best harvested just as they're opening. Leaves are best harvested before the plant is in full bloom, which of course you can harvest after that. They're just gonna be the most potent and or taste the best before the plant is in bloom. Roots are best dug up in the fall or the spring when the energy is still stored in the root. Again, you just get a more potent product for whatever you are trying to do. And then this is just 2 ways to dry herbs, or I'm sure that you can put a basket outside, you can do whatever you want. These are just the 2 methods that I use to dry the herbs: oven, or I hang them just in the kitchen. Okay, so I just went over this. Okay, so back to fungi. Mushrooms are a little bit intimidating, and because there's a lot that can make you not feel so well. So again, just tree identification, I would recommend that you, in the book, if it says, you know, an aspen bolete grows under an aspen, are you going to know what is an aspen tree? Or if they grow under any kind of tree, you want to be able to know the verbiage of the guide that you're trying to follow to make sure that you're getting something that is safe, because some lookalikes will grow under the wrong tree, but they look like it's the correct mushroom. So learning some tree identification and mushroom anatomy is super, super important. Again, I think I said this earlier, but edible and tolerable are 2 different things. So just like regular food at the store, sometimes even a certain brand of a specific food doesn't sit well with you. The same goes for wild food. So we want to be careful with what we're doing. And again, we just want to cook everything really good. The mushrooms, I wouldn't eat anything raw out. But again, do your own research, and whatever you are comfortable with, then I would say go ahead and do that. So just as an example, just this list right here are just some examples of just the cap of a mushroom. This is how many different things that you can find just on the cap of the mushroom. This does not include any of the stem or any of the mushroom that might be under any of the foliage, under the, like any pine needles or anything that's under the tree. So that was just an example so that you would know. It's really important to know mushroom anatomy. Again, just a field guide and an app. A recommendation that was said to me when I first started mushroom hunting is usually if you find a mushroom, there are some also around it. Somebody recommended to me to bring home two of the same mushrooms and only plan to eat one and do a spore print of the other one. A spore print means that the cap of the mushroom, so the top of the mushroom, if you remove the stem, or you can, however you want to do, but if you cover the mushroom and put a white piece of paper under that mushroom and leave it overnight, 24 hours, each mushroom will take a different amount of time, but they will release their spores. The spores are like their seed. That's how they're going to make more mushrooms. They release a spore print, and those are really cool. Sorry, I should have put one on here, actually. If you Google mushroom spore prints, you can see what that will look like. That is also another marker to know that you identified the correct mushroom. So that is just another way to make sure that you are 100% properly identifying that mushroom.
I'm just saying, my mind is blown right now with what you just said. I'm amazed.
I know. I'm sorry. I should have put. They're pretty and they look really cool, and the kids get a kick out of it. But so the spores can be different colors. Even with mushrooms, the bolete mushroom, there's some one that they look the exact same, and the only difference is if you cut into it, it turns green immediately, and that one is not good, but they look the exact same, found in the exact same spot. So field guides, doing your research before you go out, focusing on a few mushrooms to start out with. Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you guys click on that spore print, it's just neat. I kind of like geek out on this stuff. They're really cool. I forget what I was saying. I don't know. Anyhow, it's really fun to do with the kids, or I get a kick out of it also. Okay, so I know that I just covered a lot of information, and I didn't want to go too deep into a lot of stuff because it is kind of a lot to take out. So I am going to show you guys just a few things that I have that I've made, or some of other stuff that I have here. So I showed you the cottonwood buds. This is, so these are some, oh man, I just broke it. These are some dandelions that I got from, everybody knows what a dandelion looks like, from East Fork yesterday. So I'm trying to dry those out. So let's see. Let's do this way. This is just the root from the dandelion. And I just read like a week or so ago that dandelion root is, hold on, let me read what I wrote. It's a good source for energy. So yeah, so it's a liver tonic, vitamin A, B, C, D, iron, potassium, and calcium. So I haven't tried it yet, but I will post this to Instagram if you guys are curious. So I have some roots that I'm going to roast and not chop them up like I did these ones. And I'm going to chew on them and see if I feel like an energy boost. We'll see. That also would be helpful if you are out in the wilderness and looking for sustenance or some kind of energy. If you can throw some on a fire and then chew on them to get some energy. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I showed you the rosemary.
I am super curious about your energy level after chewing on the dandelion root. I mean, I gotta know.
I know.
So report back.
I totally will. I'm so curious about that. So I'll definitely try. So this is, it smells so good. So this is called green thread. I think it's called Hopi tea. Green thread, Hopi tea. This was foraged by my husband's boss for me from the Laguna Pueblo. This is how I would store a flower that I was trying to save for tea. So all that I do is just hot water over this in a strainer or in a teacup, the metal teacups. And that's how I would drink this. But if you get into this stuff, it's nice to you know, like hit up your friends and see what they have on their land. And then you get to get all this yummy stuff and just have it at your disposal at your house. This was foraged for me by my friend Brittany up north. I think house, maybe. I'm not sure. I should probably know better. But this is OSHA roots. And it just looks like this. And it smells like, it's really pungent. It smells like marshmallow. I wish we were in person so you guys could smell this stuff. But so if bears are sick, this is what they pull up to eat if they have a little ailment. This is the things that they're looking for. So I think that's all that I kind of have prepared. There's kind of a lot of you in here, so I hope that I gave you some good information. Really, I just want other people to be doing this. I think it's so beneficial. It's so helpful. It is absolutely something that we need to pass on to our kids, because I think that we won't know this stuff if we don't pass it on to our kids. And this is really helpful. And I think it's really cool too. So if anybody is ever interested or has any questions, oh wait, did I put my information up here? I think I did. Yeah. There's my email and my Instagram. So just reach out to me for questions, or if you want somebody to go with you to look for stuff, I would be happy to. It is totally something that I really love to do. So does anybody have any questions?
One quick thing here, if you know, please share. Somebody was interested in identifying the difference between OSHA versus cow parsnips versus angelica versus hemlock. Woo, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, I'll write that down. Let me look. So it was OSHA and hemlock, and what else did they say?
Angelica and cow's parsnip.
I don't know, but I will look for you. I will absolutely look.
Do we have I mean, at this point, I think if you want, you can take yourself, or you can show your face on the screen here, and we can open up to some questions live if you like, or if you're a little bit more shy, keep on typing those questions in the chat there, and we can get them answered for you. I can start out actually. Kristina, do you have a certain time of year that you like to go out? Are you doing this all year, or are you doing it specifically spring, fall type of things?
So all year. So even for like mushrooms like morels, you just found one that spring. Typically, I would think of mushroom season as in the fall, but they'll grow all season. So in this, which is why I love this book the most. I should probably try to get a hold of this guy somehow. This Charles Kane Wild Edible Plants of New Mexico. Up top, it'll tell you when to look for them. So summer, spring, fall, or all year. So what I recently did is I made myself a calendar of when things I think will be in season and where I can try to find them, so that I can be doing this all year. Oh, one more thing I wanted to share, mulberries. I don't know that everybody knows this, but there are an abundance of mulberries all along the Rio Grande. And so Tingley Beach right now, they are really abundant down there, and they're really yummy, and they are super easy to identify. Let me put back up here. This is a mulberry. You guys can see this on the screen. I'm thinking my screen is still sharing.
Oh, no. So share your screen again. Somebody wanted to see you sharing your stuff. So I took it off your screen sharing. So share it again.
Okay, let me, I don't know how to do that. Let me try. Oh, I see. Share screen. Yes. Okay, so these are mulberries. It's kind of blurry. Sorry about that. But once you see a mulberry, you will not unsee a mulberry. They are everywhere. If you are in your neighborhood walking or driving and you see a bunch of purple colors on the floor under a tree, that is probably a mulberry tree. And you should probably ask that person if you can pick their tree, because they're really good. So the kids and I make simple syrup out of these berries. Sometimes we don't get home with any because we just eat them while we're there. So there's white mulberries and then these red, black mulberries. Sorry,
So yeah, those to me look like blackberries. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blackberries are on a bush and this is on a tree. I don't know.
Ah,
Mulberries are really sweet. Yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But they're really good for you.
Very cool.
Do we have any other questions? Let me see.
Folks, don't be shy. Get this info while you can, while it's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think of like things growing and blooming like in the spring. So that's why I asked that. So, is that the only time you can go is the spring?
So some things are just like the buds that I have, like those cottonwood buds, or spruce tips, like those are obviously only during the spring. So it might take some effort on your part to try to create some sort of schedule so that you can be doing this all year, but it's totally worth it, because then you have all these fun projects going constantly and you have medicine at your fingertips in case you need it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's totally incredible. And so would you recommend people going on trails to find these wild edibles, or do we need to be going off trail is the best way? What do you think?
I would personally start small. I would pick your favorite trail and I would download an app or get a field guide, and I would try to identify things along the trail, because even really just the East Fork Trail, it's beautiful. If you do the Los Conchas Trailhead, there's a ton of stuff there. There's plantain. Oh, let me share one more thing. So plantain is this big leafed little plant. They're kind of dry now. I'm going to make a salve with these two, but plantain, look this up. This is what the leaves look like. You can make a poultice out of these. So if you are on the trail or out hunting and you have a bug bite, a poultice is just a moistened herb that you use externally on your body. So if you have a mosquito bite, or, I don't know, some kind of bug bite or a rash or anything to do with your skin, if you find plantain, and it is literally at parks, trailheads, it's everywhere. And you just chew it, nibble on it, get it wet and moist, and stick it on your arm. It will stop itching, and it has skin healing properties inside this little plant. Also, yarrow, guys, look it up, YARROW. That is good to stop bleeding. So if I have that's still on my shelf. It's the big white flower. I don't know how to share stuff on here. I'm sorry, I should have put pictures of these, but they'll stop bleeding. So if you bring the flower home and you dry it, like I said, to do with the other plants, and somebody gets an owie, or I'm used to talking to children. Somebody gets a injury, I don't know, an injury, and it will stop bleeding. So that is something that's helpful too when you're hunting or out in the backcountry and you get a bug bite or an owie that you don't have medicine for. So
there is one question here. As a rule of thumb, if the flower, leaves, or root are safe, are all parts of the plant safe and beneficial?
No, I would not go by that rule, because that is not the case for all plants. Some plants, some trees, only the bark is good and the other are not good. And surely, even if they're edible, they're not going to taste good. It won't even be worth your time. But I would not assume that just because one part is edible, that all of it is edible. I would not assume that for sure.
Hi, Kristina.
Yes, the skin helping leaf is called plantain. Yes.
Can you hear
Broadleaf
me?
plantain. Sorry.
All right, Vanessa, go ahead. We got a live
Okay.
question. Yes.
Sorry. Well, I met you at the Widow, not this year, I couldn't go, but like last year.
Yes, I remember. Hi.
Cheech. So I wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned that you take your the kids outside and then, you know, they go on a field hunting. Would you be able to, like, are you planning to do it one with like an outing with the ladies, you know? So we can all go hiking and then look for plants and all that stuff. I think that would be like really fun and I will be there.
Oh, I was actually just talking to the girls about that before everybody jumped on. So I think that we'll try to plan something like that in order, because it really is better if you can touch things and smell things. And I don't know, plus it's always fun to do things with a friend. So if you have a friend that is interested in this, like try to encourage them to go with you, or they get one field guide, you get one field guide. It's definitely, and then that's another person to check you too, to make sure that you're doing something that is correct or that you're identifying something correct. So I think that's a great idea, and I would totally be up to doing some sort of group hike or event like that. So yeah.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I'll wait to see if anybody wants to answer any more questions. That's a good segue into my announcements here for the end of our discussion. But I want to leave all the time in the world for questions. So if you got them, ask them, and use up all of Kristina's knowledge that she has now. So it looks like there's a lot of interest to meet up. I don't know if there's many of you on here that typically follow our ladies social hours here online. Sad news is we will be discontinuing our online ladies social hour, but I have good news to go along with that, is that we're going to start doing in-person ladies social hours throughout the state. And there's only so much internet talking that I know I can do. I want to see you guys in person. I want to get out there and do things. So that's what we're going to start doing. I think this one is a great one we can do as well. So we're in the works. Things are being planned. Things are being put on the calendar as of now. And the first one actually is going to be teamed up with Trout Unlimited, and it's going to be a fly fishing course / casting course. And we have dates set right now. We're really excited to be teaming up with Trout Unlimited. They're such a great resource, and they're so excited to be putting on these clinics. So I hope a lot of you can attend. As for now, we have one set in Albuquerque that will be July 26th and 27th. That will be a classroom-based workshop that will follow up on the 29th with a casting clinic in person. And that'll be held at the Northwest area office in Albuquerque, like I said, with Trout Unlimited. And let's see, I believe it's the August 19th that is going to be in Las Cruces. And that one will be a full day course. And that will be an in-class I believe it's going to be at the Southwest area office for that portion. And then they'll go out to the alumni pond to do some casting. So that sounds, so much fun. We're also working with Taos and Santa Fe. So if you're in the northern parts of the state, we are in contact with them to work out dates as well for that casting clinic. Also in August, around the Albuquerque area, we are looking into doing a glassing seminar out at the El Bar Ranch, which the department acquired a few months back. And we are really excited about that. I don't know about you, but I can't glass to save my life because I can't sit still for very long. So that's going to be really beneficial for all of you who have tags this season and are going to be getting out there. So lots of things planned. We will definitely get with Kristina and get her schedule going so we could all get out there together and do some foraging and learn from each other. So super excited about the things to come. So stay tuned, check your emails, check your social medias, check your everything except for your mailbox, because we don't send mailbox stuff out. So, all right. If there are no more questions, thank you so much, Kristina, for joining us tonight and giving us all your knowledge that you've learned and acquired in the past 4 years of foraging. You were incredible. No need to be nervous whatsoever. You were amazing. You did great.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, ladies, y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye.